Good evening. Welcome, councillors, executive leadership team, community members and council staff to tonight's ordinary council meeting. My name is Councillor Tim Dryley and I'm Mayor of Hepburn Shire Council. Hepburn Shire Council acknowledges the Judja Wurrung as the traditional owners of the lands and waters in which we live and work. These lands, Jarrah have performed age-old ceremonies of celebration, initiation and renewal. Recognise their resilience through dispossession and is a testament to their continuing culture and tradition, which is strong and thriving. We also acknowledge the neighbouring traditional owners, the Wurundjeri to our southeast, the Wadawurrung to our southwest, and pay our respect to all Aboriginal peoples, their culture and law. We acknowledge their living culture and the unique role they play in the life of this region. I now invite councillors to stand and read the councillor statement of commitment. We, the councillors of Hepburn Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interests of the community and that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance, so that we may faithfully represent, uphold the trust placed in this council by the people of the Hepburn Shire. Tonight's council meeting will be conducted in person and virtually. The meeting is being live streamed on council's Facebook page and you'll be able to view the proceedings of the meeting, council's deliberations and voting. The meeting is also being recorded and will be made available on council's website as soon as practicable after the meeting. In accordance with Chapter 6, Section 3 of the Governance Rules, a person, including any representative of the media, must not operate photographic, audio or video recording equipment or any other recording device at any council meeting without first obtaining the consent of the chairperson. I'd like now to introduce council officers who are present in this council meeting. We have Mr Bradley Thomas, Chief Executive Officer, Mr Andrew Burgess, Director of Organisational Services, Ms Julie Reid, Interim Director of Community and Development. Julie, up the end there. Welcome, Julie. Mr Bruce Lucas, Director of Infrastructure and Delivery. Mr Chris White, Manager of ICT. Ms Rebecca Smith, Manager of Governance and Risk. Ms Alison Blackett, Acting Manager, Planning and Building. And we have Pauline Maltzis, Senior Planning Consultant. Mr Thomas, do we have any apologies for tonight's meeting?
Through you, Mayor, there are no apologies for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Councillors, does anyone have a conflict of interest to declare? Thank you. Councillor Hewitt?
Yes, Mayor. I have a conflict of interest in relation to item 10.1, 31 Houston Street, formerly known as 70 Camp Street, Dalesford, a connection with the planning application process.
Mr Mayor, I have a general conflict of interest in relation to item 13.2, which is the appointment of an independent member to the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee.
Thank you. And I too have a general conflict of interest in relation to item 14.1, which is general business. It's regarding my application for leave. Officers that are present, I now ask whether you have a conflict of interest in any items presented before council tonight. No? Then we will move on to item 6, which is the confirmation of previous minutes. Councillors, we have a recommendation before us that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 28th of June 22 be confirmed. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Seconder? Thanks, Councillor Bray. I'd like to speak for against the motion.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I will. Again.
Good.
Councillors, the draft document purporting to be minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of June should not be adopted as they are not a true and fair record of the meeting's proceedings. The draft fails to capture very important aspects of the meeting, fails to explain the resolutions made, and therefore fails to inform any reader. They withhold important information, lack transparency, and even worse, convey a sense of unaccountability. Councillors, perhaps the most important document that we adopt on an annual basis is the budget. The 22-23 budget was adopted at the 28th of June meeting. There was animated debate regarding additional borrowings, their use and affordability. A sensible debate for any organisation, particularly one that is cash-strapped. According to the minutes, that debate did not occur at all. There was also significant discussion on cash flow projections, the tight outlook bringing into doubt the deliverability of the ambitious CapEx program, the consequential need to further review planned expenditure. There was recognition that the budget, the 10-year projections, and the state government's ranking of Hepburn Shire Council in the bottom 10 councils statewide all raised serious questions about our viability. There was also discussion on the need to better inform the community so that their expectations are better aligned to affordability, a point that will be brought sharply into focus at agenda item 12 on tonight's meeting, and to better explain the workings of the rating system. But no, according to the minutes, none of that debate or discussion ever took place. According to the minutes, councillors harboured no concerns and identified no risks in relation to council's financial outlook. That council has twice run out of unrestricted cash in the first 18 months of our term, restricted and grant funds we use for other purposes, is swept under the carpet by these minutes. What nonsense. The same meeting also addressed the adoption of the asset plan, where discussion noted the incompleteness of asset condition data and the plan's fundamental disconnection from financial budgets and projections. At the June meeting, the youth strategy was adopted and community grants were awarded. But the draft minutes would again have the reader believe that councillors held no concerns with the lack of data on asset condition, had nothing to say about the youth strategy, and nothing to say about grant recipients or their worthiness, all of which is untrue and misleading. The draft minutes have the effect of saying that on any given topic, councillors have no concerns, have considered no alternate options, identified no risks, and refused to record the rationale behind any decision. That impression would make councillors no more than a rubber stamp. Councillors, if you consider this lack of information and lack of transparency to be acceptable, then you should vote to adopt the minutes. On the other hand, if you think a proper written record of proceedings ought to capture the key elements of debate, the key foundations behind each decision, and that a transparent record be kept, then you should vote to not accept these minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Councillors, I put this motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. And that's Councillor Henderson, Councillor Bray, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Dryly. All those against? Councillor Hood and 2 abstaining. Is that correct? All right, the motion is carried. And yes, I note that the minutes are a true and reflection of and are correct.
That's only one opinion, Mr. Mayor.
Moving. Look, motion to reorder business. Councillor.
Yeah. Riley, I'd like to put a motion to reorder tonight's business. Motion is that council pursuant to Chapter 2, Division 3, Part 19 of the Hepburn Shire Council Governance Rules resolves to bring forward item 12.1, outcome of community consultation regarding the proposed sale of the Rex, and hear the item prior to item 10.
Okay, so the motion is that council pursuant to Chapter 2, Division 3, Part 19 of Hepburn Shire Council Governance Rules resolve to bring forward item 12.1, outcome community consultation regarding the proposed sale of the Rex, and hear the item prior to item 10. Councillors, I'm searching for motion. Do I have a mover?
With me moving.
That's all right. And a seconder? Councillor Simpson. Councillors, I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. That's carried unanimously. Oh, sorry, was that all those against? Did you abstain? No. Item 7, urgent business. Are there any items of urgent business? There's no items of urgent business. We'll move on to item number 8, which is a presentation of councillor reports. I'd like to present my report. The decision tonight to sell or not to sell the REX is a difficult one for councillors and for our community as well. It is a decision that needs to be thought about in the broader context of council priorities, fiscally or otherwise, the ability for us to deliver on other major projects, and the need for our community to have certainty and trust that their council is planning in their best interests and creating a common future that is worth looking forward to. These are complex matters indeed, and a lot of time, money and community and council energy has been spent on this one issue over many years. Just in the past month, councillors have been earnestly deliberating over the recommendations and results coming out of the REX Community Survey and Report. We have all met with the Hepburn Matters Group and have been talking variously with members of that group and listening to other individuals to seek a greater depth of understanding of the problem and desire for some to see the building remain a council and community asset. 66% of respondents to the survey asked us to sell, yet our own internal report recommends quite strong. 66% of respondents to the survey asked us not to sell. Yet our internal report recommends quite strongly that we do just that. The bigger picture is that as a council is committed to community engagement to continue to deliver a range of services and projects, and that we do that working together with the whole of our community to achieve sustainable and quality outcomes. We must not take this one very difficult and vexed legacy project out of context and make it the focus for all our attentions and energies. Council has not forgotten its promise to provide better accommodation for our staff, to assist our cinema group to find a new home, to house a contemporary and modern library space, to assist young people and provide better community facilities and programs throughout the Shire. An example of a great outcome this month included the tender release for the construction of the Creswick Trails Network, a major milestone for the multi-million-dollar project, which will see 60 kilometres of mountain bike trails built in and around the regional park, state forest and plantation lands of Creswick. We are also thankful for a generous donation of $250,000 from the Community Bank, Creswick and District, towards construction of the nature play area at Hammond Park Trailhead in Creswick. The trail nature play area will be an incredible place for children to explore and have fun. We really appreciate this investment from Community Bank, Creswick and District and how they are giving back to the community in this way. Other successful council partnerships this month included the launch of the Borealis on the Lake at Lake Daylesford and the Winter Sounds Weekend, which featured intimate performances taking place across Daylesford and surrounding hills. I was fortunate enough to attend the CW Stone King event at Daylesford Town Hall. Thank you. I'd like to call on Councillor Jen Bray to give her report.
Thank you, Mayor Riley. I will table my full report, but I would just like to highlight a couple of events that I was able to participate in the last month. I also attended the Borealis on the Lake event, I was there on the opening night, and it was a tremendous night, chilly and cool, but perfect really to appreciate the concept of Northern Lights. I was also able to get to Winter Sounds and see and hear Emma Donovan and the Putbacks and other performers. And in general, we had a really invigorating weekend of culture and arts, which is great to see. And it's great to see that council is able to acknowledge and celebrate and support the arts and encourage community connection, which these events are inclined to do. And I really hope that these events will be have the positive flow-on influence for our local businesses, our local artists and performers, and the community and the wider community in general.
Thank you, councillor Bray. Councillor Hewitt, call on you.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a relatively short month since the last council meeting, which was held later than usual to accommodate the Mayor and the CEO's trip to Canberra. So I took the opportunity to travel privately to South Australia for a brief time. Councillors, it's instructive to look at what services other municipalities provide when you do travel, being aware of that, and particularly those that, like Hepburn Shire, are significant, have a significant, the visitor economy is significant to them. It's a very competitive market, and what is clear is that there needs to be continuous development and improvement to ensure that shires retain their competitive edge. I was therefore pleased, like Councillor Bray, to attend the opening last Friday night of Borealis on the Lake and the sold-out Winter Sounds concert on Saturday night here at the Town Hall. The Town Hall, which, as you all know, has not had any significant maintenance for many years and is sorely in need of attention, was very much up to the task of providing a venue for an international artist such as C.W. Stone King. I do want to take the opportunity to acknowledge the work of our events team and our economic development team that have gone into both Borealis and Winter Sounds. Often our council officers' work is not visible, either to us or to the public, but the skill and dedication that they put on to ensure that those events were successful is appreciated. Finally, I would like to acknowledge the untimely passing of a long-standing resident of Daylesford, David Endicott. Mr. Endicott held a number of positions in the Daylesford Historical Society over many years, most notably as curator for 10 years. Mr. Endicott also made a significant contribution to the Daylesford Soccer Club, including as a treasurer. The community is better for his service, and condolences to his family and friends. Like Councillor Bray, I will table my report.
Thank you, councillor Hewitt. Councillor Halliday, online, would you give us your report?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a report to present this month. I'll do a bigger one next month once I'm more settled in. Thank you.
Okay, noted. Thank you. Councillor Henderson, Creswick Ward.
I'd like to just echo the words of Councillor Hewitt and make note of the passing of David Endicott. David was a bit of a character, and I think we're losing many of the characters that are in our community, but he was a character in a good way, and he always had community and most of all history fairly and squarely in his sights. He didn't just get around Daylesford. I often struck him out the bush in Creswick looking at water races and mapping out various historic old gold mine workings. And so David was a very, very passionate person, and I'm sure that his great knowledge will be missed. It's not always, you just can't pick up the phone and ask David about something anymore, and that's a great loss. I also attended most of the things that, or some of the things that my colleagues attended, so I won't go into those. But one of the things I did attend was the National Cyclocross Championships in Creswick, held at a makeshift course at Callumbean Park, and we had world, national and state champions there. But the pleasing thing, and once again our staff are to be commended, the organisers described our staff as brilliant and the way they were able to work with them. It was a private event put on in one of our venues, and it was described as equal to the best courses in Australia, and that was high praise indeed from people of that calibre. I also want to make mention of something that my colleague Mayor Riley mentioned, was the launching of the tender for Creswick Trails. These trails have been in the making for 10 years and it hasn't been easy. Every obstacle that could be put in the way has been put in the way. The state government very generously funded the stages there to the tune of 2.56 million. And just when we thought they were flagging and not supporting the project anymore, they gave us another 2.1 million for the trailhead at Hammond Park, which is under construction. So after 10 years, we can finally see shortly, we hope, to get a good tender and get some work done on that. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor Henderson. Councillor Hood, Auburn Ward.
Thank you. Councillors, I dedicate my report this month to paying tribute to Trentham resident Peter John Young. It is with immense sadness that the Trentham community and I bid you farewell to one of our dearest and favourite figures. Peter was a skilled storyteller, accomplished artist, and a true gentleman with a sharp sense of humour. He was a former journalist and manager of public affairs at Cricket Australia, where he was highly respected for his skills and integrity and was a very popular member of our community in Trentham. He had a remarkable working career. From 2002 to 2015, Peter earned the reputation as cricket's corporate conscience, providing wise counsel on delicate public issues. He was former Chief Executive James Sutherland's right-hand man. He was a source of great institutional wisdom, widely respected and admired by journalists around the world for his insight and integrity. He became a driving force behind a dramatic culture change program, which ultimately led to the cricketers committing to their own code of conduct. Peter's influence stretched far and wide. He established Cricket Australia's charity program, Cricket Cares, which uses the game's popularity to drive positive community outcomes. This involved the creation of the now famous pink test for the McGrath Foundation. When the devastating Indian Ocean tsunami struck on Boxing Day 2004, Peter, working in partnership with the ICC, played a leading role in raising over $14 million for the humanitarian effort. A gifted storyteller, he was a leading voice for the greater promotion of women's cricket and advocated for the important role cricket plays helping men, women and children lead healthy, active lifestyles. Peter's regular witty contributions to the Trentham Trumpet, Trentham Connections and the Tuesday Sketches group, along with his cheerful personality, will be greatly missed.
Thank you, councillor Hood. Councillor Simpson. Holcombe Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please see my report that will be included in the minutes tomorrow. I'd also like to acknowledge the sad passing away of David Endicott. My deepest sympathy to his family and friends. I was meant to be meeting him this week at Victoria Park to talk about the soccer club and the shed and the kiosk and some other items about the soccer club.
Thank you, councillor Simpson. I have a recommendation that council receives and notes the mayor's and councillors' reports. Mover. Thank you. Councillors, put this motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's carried. Move on to item 8.3, which is the Chief Executive Officer's report. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too have my report included in today's agenda. Just a couple of things I'd like to highlight. Would really like to highlight and thank the City of Ballarat for the partnership that we've entered into. Now attempt to secure mountain biking as part of the 2026 Commonwealth Games at Creswick Trails. Obviously, a lot of work to do in this place and a little bit of luck will be needed to go our way to secure this, but it's great to be working in partnership with our surrounding council. And can I also say a big thanks and thank you to the councillors for the kind words to work undertaken by staff over the last month, particularly in really trying circumstances with both staff and community, with increasing COVID numbers, a number of restrictions coming back. We really do appreciate the extra yard that you go to. My report is included in the agenda and there's a recommendation before you that council receives and notes the CEO's report for July 2022.
Thank you, Mr Thomas. We have an officer's recommendation before us that council receives and notes the Chief Executive Officer report for July 2022. Do I have a mover? Henderson, a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Hood. I'll put this motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Thank you, that's carried. Move on to item 9, which is public participation time. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just in recognition that we do have a large number of people, I'd like to move that we do by 15 minutes. Make that a total of 45 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. So for those who couldn't hear that, the motion is that council extend public participation time by 15 minutes in line with council's governance rules to allow for all questions and addresses to be heard. I'm in search of a second, so you've moved that, search of a seconder. Councillors have put motion to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried. So item 9.1 is the petitions, but we do not have any petitions tonight. Item 9.2 is questions. So tonight the CEO, Bradley Thomas, will read out the questions and I will read the response.
Thank you, Mayor. Question 1 is from Gina Lyons. Can council please confirm if it has returned the 500,000 library grant to the state government now that the Rex project has been abandoned?
Council wrote to the Minister of Local Government in March 22, advising that a motion was passed at the November 21 ordinary meeting of council to not proceed with Hepburn Hub development. The decision not to proceed resulted in the cancellation of the Daylesford Library project and the $500,000 Living Libraries grant funding being unspent and required to be returned. Discussions held with Local Government Victoria at this time secured approval from Minister Lean to reallocate this grant funding to the Trentham Library as part of the Trentham Community Hub project, rather than returning the funds to government. Council remains committed to undertaking further work to identify alternative options to deliver improved library services in Daylesford. The decision to reallocate the previous funding to Trentham ensures that council will be able to apply for future rounds of Living Libraries grant funding to support a future project in Daylesford.
Question 2 is from Linda Carroll. At the November 2021 meeting where council moved a surprise motion to walk away from the Rex project, it was noted in the motion that council would continue to work with the cinema group to help find them a new location. Why has there been no formal follow-up in an official capacity with our cinema group as set out in your motion from November 2021? If this motion to sell the Rex is successful, our community cinema will be lost, and once it's gone forever.
The background to this question isn't accurate. Council has maintained regular discussion and contact with the cinema group and also endeavoured to broker discussions with third parties around potential locations for the cinema to operate from. Council will continue to work with the cinema group to support them as far as possible.
There's been no.
Question 3. Question 3 from Jeremy Whitehead.
1 minute, that please.
How many caravan park licences have been issued by Hepburn Shire in the last 5 years? And which authority issued the latest licence of Victoria Park, Daylesford Holiday Park and Yangdoit Cosy Tents Caravan Parks?
Council has received 5 planning permit applications for use and development for a caravan park in the last 5 years. Council issues caravan parks with a registration under residential tenancies, caravan parks and movable dwellings registration and standards regulations 2010. In the last 5 years, council has issued 6 businesses with registration, including the Daylesford Holiday Park and the Yangdoit Cosy Tents.
Question 4 is from Adam Fawcett. What score did council staff give to the Rex when scoring it against the community engagement matrix? And which steps did council take to ensure the scoring reflected the true nature of the project?
Council officers assessed the sale of the Rex using the level of engagement matrix in Hepburn Council's community engagement policy. The score received was 15, meaning a medium level of engagement was undertaken. Councillors were briefed on the level of engagement proposed and provided input into the engagement plan prior to its implementation.
Question 5, also from Adam Fawcett. Council says the objective of their community engagement policy is to strengthen the relationship between council and the community and to recognise the creativity and expertise of Hepburn Shire citizens and stakeholders in identifying strengths and challenges, as well as developing solutions for our community. If councils vote to sell the Rex tonight, even with an EOI process for community use, how do councillors justify this course of action when it goes against the most basic objectives in our own community engagement policy?
Council is committed to community engagement and partnering with community wherever possible to achieve sustainable and quality outcomes. In accordance with the adopted policy, community have been provided opportunity to participate and provide feedback for council consideration. Councillors have been provided all feedback received, and we will consider this community feedback in determining the potential sale of the Rex building. We now move on to item 9.3, which is the request to address council. We have 8 requests to address council tonight. Requests to address for planning matters will be heard as council considers each item. I'd like to now invite Mr. Lyle Brooks to speak in relation to the Rex. Welcome, Mr. Brooks. You've had 3 minutes to address council.
This will be close to 3 minutes you've had for years, so there's no need to tell me when 30 seconds is coming up. That's why you listened. Hi, hello. I'm Lyle Brooks. I'm a Hepburn Springs resident and I'm artistic director of Lab Kelpie, which is a small but national reaching theatre company that's now relocated to Dalesford. I was supposed to get up here tonight and talk to you about the importance of arts and culture and why we need community spaces to nurture our next generation of leaders and creatives and all that jazz, but you already know that, right? Right? Right. So instead, I want to talk to you about me and the people here beside me. These people, we are passionate, we're engaged, we're values-driven residents. So that's one of the things that makes this shire so attractive in the first place, so competitive. Now, I'll admit, as a community, we are prone to being a little bit naughty sometimes, but that's kind of our vibe, isn't it? That's we're caring but cheeky, a town full of characters, if you will. That's us. I want you to look at these people. Look at them. Look at their experience. Look at their passion. Look at their goddamn cheekiness. Look at their values and ask yourself, am I representing them by making this decision? Am I promoting the intelligence and the skills and the passion of my own citizens by enlisting them to try and solve a problem for the community that they live in? I mean, did you see some of the incredible ideas the community came up with in the survey? Have you seen the knowledge of some of the people advocating for the Rex? Have you seen their experience? Have you heard their passion? Have you seen them? And I don't mean as a paragraph in a press release, I mean, have you seen them? Have you listened? Are you listening now? We accept that council can't afford to develop the Rex on its own, but the budget of 22-23 is confirmed, so we have a small window of time available before an ultimate decision to sell needs to be made. And a large contingent of local residents have expressed strong desire over a sustained period of time to help council fund a solution that will retain 100% of the asset for community use. Now, if you like, we can choose to get bogged down in the detail of what a co-design process looks like, or how council is going to manage to retain control of that process, or how you're going to be able to trust us, cheeky, naughty locals, or for whatever reason you might have for not supporting this partnership. But I'm encouraging you to look past all this to a much deeper question. A question I believe lies at the heart of council's relationship with the community and is the key, perhaps, to solving this problem. The question is this: do you believe in empowering your own citizens to find solutions to issues that affect them? Because when you strip it right back, that's what it comes down to. And that's what you're voting on.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you for your time.
I'd like to now invite Ms. Dana Lyons to speak in relation to the rec. Thank you, Ms. Lyons. You have 3 minutes as well.
This community wants its cinema back. I'll say it again. Whenever the community has needed to step up and affirm its support for the community cinema, it has done so. In 2017, the overwhelming response from the community led to the council resolving to include the cinema in the hub at the Rex. After the November council meeting, 1,200 people, imagine 1,200 people in a town this size, signed a petition protesting the decision to abandon the project and sell the building. And recently, 369 submissions were received in the community consultation, with concern about the cinema expressed by the majority of those people. Frankly, councillors, I get fed up having to keep justifying and defending the need for a space for the community. Overall, 66% of respondents were against the sale. Birch Ward accounted for over 50% of responses, and 75% of Birch Ward respondents were against the sale. This council was elected on a platform of listening to the community. Making a quick decision tonight to sell the building flies in the face of the community's wishes. This matter has been dragging on for so long now, 6 years at the last count. What is the harm in spending a bit more time on a co-design process, such as that proposed by Hepburn Matters, to enable the cinema and other community spaces to be accommodated in part of the Rex, and to consider options to fund those spaces? What have you got to lose? Contrary to earlier comments following the November meeting, Council has not approached Dalesford Community Theatre about potential sites as per the November resolution. And I would like that noted in the minutes, please. Dalesford Community Theatre itself has explored other potential sites. However, these locations pose their own sets of problems and restrictions and will not work as a cinema. The Rex is the only hope. The cinema was a vital, vibrant and successful enterprise, and it can be so again for the benefit of the community and visitors alike. Clawing back a few $1 million by selling the Rex is not compensation enough for the loss of the site community. The Rex has a value to us far in excess of what a developer will be willing to pay. And once it's gone forever. I strongly encourage and implore the council not to resolve to sell the building as per the resolution. You can determine your own timelines for decisions.
10 seconds, thanks.
This is too important to be rushed through tonight.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Ms. Beverly Ristrom to speak in relation to the Rex.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Beverly Ristrom, and I certainly haven't been connected with the cinema for as long, and I'm certainly not as eloquent as Lyle over there. But I did have such a good time at the last meeting, I thought I'd come back. But what I wanted to also say is I'm actually starting to feel a bit like Don Chipp. I reckon that's my kind of role. So all I did was look at the community engagement policy, and it's fantastic. What a brilliant piece of intention for the council for 10 years. And I'll just remind people, if you don't know what community consultation is, and you might not really. At its core, community engagement is about a conversation between council and the community about important projects and plans that will impact our community. The purpose of community engagement is for council to hear community's voice, unearth opportunities and explore challenges and solutions. That's what you've subscribed to. That's what we're up about as well. So then, of course, I had to go and look at the other pages about the sale of the Rex, and there's the priority statements and things. But I was amazed that, you know, what we were engaged on. Council was interested in the extent to which the community supports the intention to sell the Rex. But then later down, then it says all proposals for alternative use of the building will only be considered if there's a financially viable option with significant community support. And later down, just from that paragraph, council didn't seek detailed submissions or business cases at this point. We only sought ideas and suggestions. Okay, so then I went down to the frequently asked questions section. If council has stated their intentions to sell, what's the point in filling in a survey? Like if you're selling, you're going to consult with us, but you're already intending to sell, but you're going to ask us questions, but you're not going to consider it. So I'm just saying I'm really confused about how that process goes. And I guess at this point, and then further down in the frequently answered questions was, council intends to sell the Rex, however, wants to consider your views before ultimately determining to proceed. Okay. At this point, council does not see a clear purpose for retaining the Rex. You don't see a clear purpose for retaining the Rex and the finances, but it's really simple. Hear the community's voice, unearth the opportunities and explore the challenges and solutions. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wisdom. I'd like to invite Mr. Jesse Leith to speak in relation to the Rex.
Hi, I've got a little story for you. I've grown up in Dartford. I've been here on and off 33 years now. And in 2003, when I was 13, I was setting out tea and biscuits for a group of young people who gathered in the Dowsford Council chambers to envisage what the youth of Dowsford needed and wanted. I was there helping out my mother, Julian McDonald, who's now the president of Hepburn Matters. She was facilitating it, which would have been part of her role as the youth development officer in Dowsford at the time. There was resentment amongst young people that services and facilities were being developed for tourists and there was nothing for them. I think the resentment was reflected or countered by council in creating that role that my mum was fulfilling as youth development officer. This group contained several creative, talented and passionate young people. I remember leaving that meeting feeling very excited about all the things that they were going to do for the youth of Dowsford. One of the older boys, Michael Huggard, in particular, emerged as an inspirational and hardworking leader of the push. And that weekend, the group dreamed up a raft of projects to engage and create social, educational and employment opportunities for young people. I would see him often at my mum's office working hard at creating the futures he saw for brightening the potential for our youth. The projects included the skate park, designed by young people. I remember visiting Brian Wilson's garage, the original Barcaldine house, and he was passionately engineering the prototype skate ramps in his garage. All of my friends skated at the time, and so that was particularly exciting for us. We put together the annual Small Day Out Festival, the freezer program, a youth council was put together, and most importantly, the restoration of the Rex to its former glory as a cinema with the addition of a social enterprise cafe, hospitality training centre, a bowling alley and an arcade of shops, which would be available for lease. The thought was that the restoration of the Rex would really be the crowning achievement in the youth development project, as it would give multiple extracurricular activities as well as employment opportunities to my age group at the time, which was struggling with keeping themselves occupied with healthy activities in a rural town. Through the efforts of Michael and many other young people, supported by my mother, Peter Amara and many others, the first edition of the skate park was built, the freezer program was instituted. We did blue light discos and underage events for many, 4 or 5 years at least, I remember. We did several Small Day Out youth festivals. They were held and the Youth Council was developed. The restoration of the Rex proved more challenging, despite the passion and energy of Michael, his team and the supporters. I remember the Restore the Rex group, supported by Dowsford Secondary College and some other local volunteers, undertook a school holiday study tour of restored cinemas in New South Wales and Victoria. Plans were drawn up by local architect Helen Bernard. Local businessman Richard Spence assisted the young people in doing a business plan. And the owner of the Rex offered to make a financial contribution of $600,000 and provide a 30-year lease to council. The group intended to seek a regional development grant and sought the council to support them, which would have assisted in accessing this and other grants. However, the council didn't share the vision of these inspirational young people and refused to support the project. This decision and lack of council support shattered these far-sighted young people, as restoring the Rex was the keystone of their dreams into which they'd poured their energies and their hearts.
That's 3 minutes, Mr.
I'll just finish off by saying the majority of people, well, sadly, Michael Huggard's no longer with us, but I think that his vision lives on. And the majority of people responding to the recent council survey clearly demonstrated that the community wants to retain the Rex, despite the survey being very slanted towards supporting the decision to sell. The council's rich in expertise, skills, knowledge and experience. There's a plethora of creative talent for people to draw on. There's an opportunity to co-design the project and find a viable way to return the Rex as a cinema and for community use.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite Dr. Linda Hancock to speak in relation to the Rex.
Good evening, councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to bring up these important issues. When council bought the Rex in 2016, it was hailed as a crisis averted, as one councillor told me. Council saved Dalesford from a multi-storey development out of character with Dalesford, as that had been the plan by another developer. The proposal to sell puts Dalesford back in jeopardy and reneges on important promises. It flies in the face of the signatures on the petition and the survey results you heard about. Vincent Street lacks vital community and tourist facilities. As the owner of the other historic Vincent Street Theatre, Alpha Hall, built in 1915, which I acquired in 1989, and have spent considerable amount looking after, I wish to address 3 governance issues. Governance 1, Vincent Street commercial owners pay big rates to councils, but have our amenity whittled away by the closure of the Rex. We appear to have not been consulted on its sale. We've not only lost the cinema, but public toilets closed in 2017, and Duke Street rear access of Vincent Street parking also lost in 2017, which also had disability lift access to Vincent Street. What is council's plan to provide such amenities for our tourist magnet Main Street and locals? What is council giving back to traders and businesses weathering the COVID and now the interest rate storms? What is council's plan to avert inappropriate development? How can council sell an asset when there is no alternative plan to restore what has been lost? Governance 2, the $18 million costings can't be true. What's needed are specific refurbishment costings by quantity surveyors for a stage development, prioritising restoration of the cinema and public toilets in the historic front. But first, there needs to be a co-planning process between council and community on what are the priorities for its development, and that should include commercial owners. What is the $18 million based on? It appears to be based on a $9,000 per square metre omnibus kind of flipped out figure, which appears to include land value. It's more important to look at floor area than land area. Governance 3, is not a decision on the sale of the Rex premature whilst awaiting the report of the local government inspectorate into its governance. So in conclusion, council has robust policies on sustainability, community engagement and balancing ESG, environment, social governance. The REX is not a proposal. It's a plea from our community for you to reinstate what has been lost on a failed, botched project. Took away
3 minutes.
our community assets. Dalesford community has had 5 long years without these assets. We want a co-design process involving council with us, concerned Hepburn community, not a panic financially driven decision that all would regret as a lost opportunity. We've heard about what the opportunities have been for youth. I want to present to you too, this is for all ages and in particular, older women. A lot of older women got great amount of community connectedness out of volunteering at the Rex Cinema. And this has been a very sad loss for those women in particular, many of whom, according to the census, live on their own. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to invite Ms Louise Johnson to speak in relation to the REX as well.
Thank you. I'm a recent resident of Hepburn Springs and Secretary for Hepburn Matters. My father was an architect and he passed on his passion for heritage architecture to me, and I've got a background in public health. I'm speaking in relation to consideration by Hepburn Shire Council of a council officer's recommendation to sell the Rex building with land and adjoining Duke Street House. We've all suffered from a lack of opportunities for connection with people over the last few years with the COVID pandemic. It impacts on our mental health. What we need now is the opportunity to connect in a community space in the heart of Dalesford. The Rex is well placed to be that very space. I urge Council to delay any decision regarding sale of the Rex until the end of November and to commit in principle to a co-design process between Council and community to explore and reach mutually satisfactory outcomes regarding the Rex. An independently facilitated co-design workshop to bring community members and Council together could explore models for community investment that have been successfully used in Australia. And we know both government and not-for-profits have used that strategy of co-design. Other people have mentioned the council survey results, but there was 77% from Birch Ward that want the Rex to be retained and 66% overall. We want council to listen to these views and tap into the great ideas that have been expressed. The Rex is too important historically to leave outcomes to chance. An unfettered sale process without even an expression of interest process to ensure that local community use is considered, that's the worst possible outcome. We want time for a dialogue to occur. I appreciate Council's concern about the financial cost of renovation of the Rex. However, options have not been considered, such as cost containment through stepwise development of a proportion of the building, such as the historic front section, and sale of the adjoining house. Community investment models to raise funds for the development that can be rigorously assessed and applied in realising the potential of the Rex. Scrutiny of the building by experts, including quantity surveyors, to get a more realistic idea of costs for development options, including a scaled down plan. Everything doesn't need to be done at once. Council support for the development of the arts and the community and cinema activity hubs does happen elsewhere around Australia. A great example is the Roxy Cinema in Leeton, with heritage architects involved. The council locally is supporting the restoration of a heritage building that will support the performing arts, 2 cinemas with adjoining cafe and other counselling
other council facilities.
10 seconds.
Okay, what is needed is a co-design process between council and community to find a solution, not a fire sale that shortchanges our community. We want to work together with you to find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Mark Dickinson to speak in relation to the Rex.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you, everyone else who's spoken already. So inspiring, so beautifully. Like many of us here tonight, I love the Rex. And I love that we all, at least at the moment, currently own the Rex. My love story began in 2013. I was part of a team running Words in Winter, Hepburn Shire's annual art and literature festival. That year we chose to hold the Daylesford events inside the Rex. At that time, it was an arcade. Most of the shops inside were vacant. There wasn't much through traffic aside from just the people going to the cinema for the most part. It was dark and it was uninviting. Wonder why I couldn't sleep. We thought to ourselves, it's centrally located, it's got useful spaces inside, the facade is beautiful. People should come along, and people did. We got extraordinary support and sponsorship from local businesses. We had performers, presenters, and stall holders from all across Australia. And over that wintry August weekend, we brought over 1,000 people into that dingy arcade. Everyone wanted to be there. For that short time, we saw the Rex in full flight, full of song, children playing, people of all ages and demographics engaged and inspired by the space. People wandered in off the street to see what was happening. It was glorious. I learned two things that weekend. One is that Daylesford is an arts town, and two, that the Rex is the heart of the town. Firstly, that realization is all around us, from the stream of musicians who perform every week at our pubs, the art galleries in our streets, the many festivals we host, the touring ensembles, comedians, lecturers. This is an arts town, but something is missing. What is our family entertainment? Where can our young people go? Where can our elderly and isolated go? The population of Daylesford and Hepburn Spring doubles and often triples on weekends. Where do these prized visitors go in the main street? It can't all just be shopping. The main street lacks a place to do things. We are missing the centre. The heart is there, but it is empty. Our federal and state governments understand that arts sustain mental health, maintain quality of life, and encourage economic growth. Many local councils across Australia express this understanding by owning and managing performance venues and cinemas. It is not beyond us to do the same. It simply requires a vision and commitment to build something. Put multiple cinemas, meeting rooms, galleries, a cafe, a theatre, a community gathering place into that empty shell. Build it and we know people will come. You've made a commitment to find a new home for our community cinema, but there is no other place. We have the venue. It's in the best possible location for a cinema, for an art precinct, for a community.
Mr. Dickinson.
In summary, this council, yourselves, inherited a goose that lays golden eggs. Sure, to feed the goose, you have to feed it, and that feed is isn't going to be cheap always, but it lays golden eggs. To sell that goose for a golden egg doesn't really make sense. This is an arts town, and the Rex is the heart of the town.
Thanks. I'd now like to invite Mr. David Moore to speak in relation to the Rex.
Can't match all the theatrical. So I've taken on the task of the budget, the costing, then to see the launch and the cost guide. Can I start now?
Steve, sure.
The survey demonstrates very strong community support for keeping the wreck. I have a dream council will consider the survey ideas. It's a dream. I have a dream council will partner in a co-design with Hepburn Matters. The council agenda says, I quote, "The cost would now likely be in excess of 18 million, in addition to the costs already expended. This is estimated based on a commercial building rate of $9,000 per square metre for a facility of 2,052 metres squared." I've discussed this cost of $9,000 per square metre with a reputable quantity surveyor. It is astounding, well beyond even a whole new building, let alone an internal fit out of an existing shell. According to Australia's premier building cost index guide, Rawlinson's, in 2019, because that's the copy I've got and the one you can get as a sample on the web, a new build of a commercial building would be in the order of $1,900 to $3,000 a square metre. The QS said it is reasonable to add 15 to 25% for a 2022 building cost, and would be half of that for an internal fit out, i.e. $950 to $1,500. Discounting the roof, the external walls, substructure, services as listed in Rawlinson's table. So I can take you to that table if you want. Even if we use Rawlinson's upper range fit out of $1,500 times 120%, so I've got that right this time, to 2022 cost, we arrive at a figure of 3.6 million, not 18 million. Will council reveal the source of the commercial building rate? This source is key to the mystery. Costs in the community the community engagement info pack of the survey were 10 to 18 million.
That's 10 seconds, Mr. Moore.
They're different in this agenda. They scrapped the 10 million. Why has the lower amount of 10 million been quoted in the pack dropped from this advice to council? In relation to area, a professional approach, the quantity surveyor would look at the whole floor area, not the site area. It appears that 8 Duke Street's off the area calculation because I've assumed straight away that it's this area of the whole site. We need some transparency in these figures. They're just boldly rolled out, no explanation. You don't know whether it's floor area, side area, whether it's got Duke Street in it. Hopeless. I still have a dream. More detailed investigation would be undertaken and a co-design with Hepburn Matters of alternative proposals that are financially viable. Can we do it?
That concludes public question time, patient time. We now move on to item 12.1, which is the outcome of the community consultation, the proposed sale of the Rex. I'd like to introduce Councillor Henderson to introduce the report.
This report has been prepared following the completion of community engagement regarding the proposed sale of the council-owned property known as the Rex, located at 49 to 51 Vincent Street, Dalesford. The report includes the consideration of alternative ideas proposed during the engagement process and other options. Council officers have completed a community engagement process in line with Council's community engagement policy and in accordance with the requirements of the Local Government Act 2020. Community engagement was undertaken with the assistance of an external consultant who has analysed the submissions received. Council has received a broad range of feedback It demonstrates how parts of our community are invested in this asset, and officers have endeavoured to balance the passionate feedback with the longer-term sustainability of council and use the results of the community engagement to form the basis for the recommendation. Based on the community engagement review, the ideas put forward, the community and the council ability to commit to a further major project and the reinvestment and the investment needed. And we have a councillor's recommendation to proceed with the sale of the Rex.
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Do you have any questions of the report? Any questions or comments? Councillor Bray? Yep.
Thanks, Mayor Dryly. I have a couple of questions. My first question is about the heritage overlay on the site. My question is we know there's a heritage overlay. What does that protect? Is it just the facade of the building? Does it include the internal of the building? And is there any height limitations on this particular site in terms of how high a potential development could go?
For you, Mr. Mayor, the building is protected by the Hepburn Planning Scheme, the Heritage Overlay. And what we mean by that is that council will works or demolitions on the site. The Rex also has interior alteration controls on it, so any internal modifications will also need a permit from council. What normally happens when these proposed works are submitted is that any works are referred to council's heritage advisor. She is a qualified heritage architect, and these matters are considered to ensure that the heritage fabric remains intact and it's restored, and that any future works are consistent with and sit compatibly with the existing heritage fabric. Council has clause 43 of the Hepburn Planning Scheme, which has particular provisions on new works and development, and it also has a local heritage policy to ensure that heritage fabric is retained as a long-term, maintained and repaired on an ongoing basis. The Rex also has social significance. So it's not just the architectural fabric and the historic fabric, it's the social significance as well as an atmospheric theatre of the 1920s and 30s. And so the point is that it's protected in that permits are required before any works are done. Any extensions to the rear of the site, it's only the Rex building itself that's in the heritage overlay, and the area on Duke Street is not in the heritage overlay. So new work to the rear of the site would have to respect the overall height of the cinema, and those heights would need to be resolved possibly, through building envelope plans or determining an overall height that's appropriate for the precinct of Dalesford as an activity centre.
Could I ask, just to clarify, when you say that, is there any actual height limit in the Duke Street side?
So at the moment, the heritage overlay does not have a specific height limit, to say you can go to 10 stories or you can go to 20 stories. The heights are predicted on compatibility with neighbouring heritage buildings. They're tempered that way. They're not tempered by its X or its Y. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Blackett. Do we have any other questions, councillors? Oh, Councillor Henderson.
I've already had one. You have one.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to move a motion.
No, I have a question. I have a two-part question. It's about the process to sell. The option to sell the Rex with a direct sale without any conditions. My understanding is that that would be to delegate that to the CEO, who would have a reserve price and who would be instructed to sell for the highest possible price. And there would be no need to come back to council for any further consultation, and that the CEO's got full delegation to make that sale independently. So my question is that understanding correct regarding the direct sale? process.
Thank you, councillor. Through the chair, the short answer is yes, that interpretation is correct. If council were to move the officer's recommendation, it includes council establishing or setting the reserve value and then delegating to the chief executive officer to execute the sale should that reserve price be met or exceeded.
Second part of that question is if council chose to sell through an expression of interest, that my understanding is that an expression of interest would go out to potential buyers. They would put forward proposals. They would be looked at by council, and a final decision about the sale would be a balance of a price and possible benefits. But there's no requirement that we meet a specific reserve in that process. That it could be lower than a potential reserve price based on the understanding of a gain through some benefit. That would go back to council for a final decision, and it would be council's final decision to make if we went via an EOI process. Is that correct?
Hello. Do you know what price you're asking for the rent?
Please don't interrupt, Rick. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Councillor, I'll try and explain the process of the EOI. An expression of interest process, a conditional expression of interest process, may include inviting open submissions from community or from prospective purchasers on any particular offer, which might be straight sale for the highest and best value, through to an offer which might be at a lower commercial price with some other community benefit or some other benefit for council, which may include public toilet facility or some other facility, and a reduction in the overall purchase price, and that would be available for council to consider. Either way, council will need to set a reserve price and have an independent valuation in order to comply with the Local Government Act and the process for the sale of a public asset.
Thanks.
Councillor Halliday.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, sorry, we can't hear you. Just say that you might need to come a bit closer.
I actually had so putting it down and up, so I wasn't sure where we're at.
All right. Look, we do have an officer's recommendation before us, if there are no other questions or comments from councillors. And that is that council, one, acknowledges the significant community interest and thanks our community for the time invested in providing feedback. 2, notes the community engagement reports. 3, determines to sell the property known as the Rex located at 49 to 51 Vincent Street, Daylesford, and house at 8 Duke Street, Daylesford, currently on 1 certificate of title through a public sale process. 4, delegates the Chief Executive Officer the authority to manage the sale process by appointing an appropriate agent and undertake the sale. 5, requests the CEO to provide regular updates on the sale process to councillors. 6, sets the reserve price for sale based on the independent market valuation received. 7, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to execute the contract of sale on behalf of the council. And 8, publicly releases the reserve price value following the completion of the sales process that has resulted in a final settlement of the contract of sale. I'm in search of a motion. Tessa, are you moving the officer's recommendation?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I actually want to move a different motion. I'd like to propose that council delay its decision regarding the sale of the Rex until 30th of November 2022 to allow time for an investigative design process where the community representatives, with the assistance of an independent facilitator, can review possible options for the use and ownership of the Rex site to provide community facilities and present the design options and funding commitments or agreements to council for evaluation. This process will not be funded by council, and funds will need to be raised by the community or utilise the expertise of local volunteers. Yeah, that's the end of it.
I have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Bray. Councillor Halliday, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. So I wanted to propose this motion to give the community an opportunity to come back to us with some concrete ideas and funding options. At this stage, as much as we would like to go with some of the great ideas they've got, there really isn't anything in concrete that we can evaluate. So I would like to give them the option to come back to us with those costings, with those design ideas, with commitment from investors, and bring that back to council so that we can, I guess, further evaluate whether we should continue with the sale process or whether the community option is viable. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Halliday. Councillor Bray, would you like to?
Yep, thank you, Mayor Drowley. I would like to speak to that motion. I think this motion puts forward a very practical proposal. What if the community put up an offer not to buy the building but to invest in the building, and council could keep the building instead of selling it potentially, but it allows you to explore a variety of options and a co-design process to design a community facility at the Rex to incorporate those ideas that have come out of the community engagement. On a purely practical level, we would really need the community to raise significant funds to contribute towards this development. And in return, council would probably need to commit to seeking grant funding towards the development of community facilities. And as part of the exploration of ideas, there could be options to, subdivide and partially sell, and this money could go back into that development. And at this point, giving more time to create a broad design for this development, decide on what these facilities might be, this would allow for some of this engagement ideas such as community connection, arts, cultural experiences to nurture the youth, young people, young families, older people, provide a home for the community cinema and public toilets, just to name a few possibles. The co-design process would need to also consider all the technical and logistical factors, costs, funding options, and need to come up with a management model for the operation of the building. And it would need to be this process run by a facilitator to ensure a fair and transparent process. And we know that other councils have successfully collaborated with their communities to create cinemas, arts hubs, and community spaces. And these are not just essential for creating community connection to nourish health and wellbeing and resilience, but they're important to reactivate our main street and create a thriving local economy. So council could achieve not only a cash benefit from the sale of part of this option, but also provide much needed community facilities to enrich the lives of residents, tick off some of the key goals in our council plan. And for the sake of delaying the sale for 4 months, and choosing to work with community to come up with a financially viable plan, council could preserve this valuable heritage building as a community asset and create a thriving cultural and economic hub in the heart of Hepburn-Shire.
Would any other councillors like to speak for or against the motion? Councillors, I'd like to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. So Councillor Halliday, Councillor Drowley, Councillor Bray. All those against? Councillor Henderson, Councillor. Thank you. Just a reminder that please be respectful of the councillors voting. Thank you.
I call the division.
The division, we'll have a recount on that, please. All those in favour, all those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Halliday, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Bray, 4, and those against is Councillor Henderson, Councillor Hood, and Councillor Hewitt. Thank you. Please be respectful. The motion is lost. Councillor Henderson.
Yes, Mayor, I wish to move the officer's recommendation, and I'll read it out. Or else it'll be on the screen, but I'm happy to read it out. The council, 1, acknowledges the significant community interest and thanks our community for the time invested in providing the feedback.
Thank you. 5, please.
2, allow notes the community engagement reports. 3, determines to sell the property known as the Rex located at 4951 Vincent Street, Dalesford, and house at 8 Duke Street, Dalesford, currently on 1 certificate of title through a public sale process. 4, delegates the Chief Executive Officer the authority to manage the sale process by appointing an appropriate agent to undertake the sale. 5, requests the CEO to provide regular updates on the sale of the process to councillors. 6, sets the reserve price for sale based on the independent market valuation received. 7, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to execute contract of sale on behalf of council. And 8, publicly releases the reserve price value following the completion of the sales process that has resulted in the final settlement of the contract of sale.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Hood.
I'd like to put an amendment to that.
Okay, the amendment.
I have 2 amendments to add to that motion. If
We have a seconder.
Yeah, we've got a
motion.
We had a seconder. Councillor Hood with seconder.
I propose 2 amendments to the motion.
I haven't even spoken yet, Mr.
So I think we should hear the speaker for the motion first. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This project has been going on for far too long, and so at some stage we have to draw the line. There is some.
Quiet, please.
There is some thought that we may be able to retain this, but having looked at the budget, looked at the future projections, and in recognition that we barely actually, if you would, and looks at the budget, have enough money to carry on beyond 3 months if push came to shove. We don't have cash reserves. And it's as simple as that. And we just can't afford to be guessing what might be the future of this building. It was November last year, we actually made the decision. I'm happy to spend all night to take my 3 minutes, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to spend all night having my 3 minutes if I might.
Keep continuing, Mr. Quiet, please. Let Councillor Henderson finish.
Hear him.
Yeah. Hear me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you hear me, Mr. Mayor?
I can hear you. Thank you,
That's
Councillor.
who's got to hear me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please be respectful. I need to let Councillor Henderson.
Perhaps councillor Henderson should come to the lectern if that's.
Thank you.
Tom? All right.
Yeah.
Not yet. I haven't
I
finished.
do need to warn you that we will need to stop the meeting if you continue to interrupt. Thank you.
So having heard, and I have heard over the last period of time, I've heard a lot of things about this. Some of the same people that I heard saying we should never have gone into this project, are now saying we should keep the project. And look, that times change, times do change, and I think the time come to draw the line in the sand. And so that's the recommendation I'm putting.
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Councillor Gray?
No, don't you have the
sorry.
appropriate time to
Yeah.
put in an amendment? Yeah, okay.
Don't you have the seconder?
Yeah, you could request the amendment and then it would need to be accepted by the chair
All right.
and the seconder.
So the amendment is, councillor Bray?
Yeah, thank you. Mayor Drylee, I have two amendments I'd like to suggest to councillor Henderson that he may choose to accept on his motion. One is to change point, I can't remember what point it was, but it was authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute the contract of sale on behalf of council, to request the Chief Executive Officer provide, to bring a report to council to recommend the execution of the contract of sale on behalf of council.
Okay.
Is that clear to the governance officer? Does that? It also has point 3, delegates the Chief Executive Officer to authority to manage the sale process. That stays the same, but I've just added bring a report to council to recommend the execution of the contract of sale on behalf of council regarding that. The second amendment is to add a note that we request the Chief Executive Officer write to the Minister of Local Government and the Local Government Inspectorate, noting council's disappointment in the delays of publishing the investigation into the RECs, and request that the report be finalised and published as soon as possible.
Okay.
You could accept both or just one.
Do you accept both of those or one of?
No, I accept the last one, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I accept the last one, but not the other.
And Mr. Hood, councillor Hood, do you accept that?
I would have accepted both of those amendments.
Okay.
Given the mover didn't, it'll only be the second.
Yeah. Given the mover didn't accept the other recommendation, the amendment, the one amendment will be.
Mr. Mayor, I might just suggest that we'll take 10 seconds.
Yeah, we'll just get that up.
Bring that motion up.
Bring it up on the screen just to be clear on what we are.
I could suggest an amendment that might be acceptable to both councillor Henderson and councillor Wood.
Okay.
Slightly different to councillor Bray's.
We'll need to put this one first, I believe. Is that the amendment?
Both the mover and the seconder have accepted the 0.9 being added.
Just check that. So request the Chief Executive Officer write to the Minister Local Government and the Local Government Inspectorate, noting council's disappointment in the delays of the publishing of the investigation into the RECs, and the request the report be finalised and published as soon as possible. Okay.
So the mover and the seconder accept that. You could accept that.
All right.
If you have
And
a fellow councillor.
have a further amendment, councillor Hewitt?
Mine would be somewhat similar to councillor Bray's, but councillor Bray had hers added to, I think, point 3 of the officer's recommendation. That's how it got read out. I would suggest that it become point 6, that the Chief Executive Officer bring a report to council to recommend the execution of the contract of sale on behalf of council. It's the same comment, same amendment that councillor Bray suggested, but it's in a different order and not associated with point 3.
Is where I meant to put it.
Yes, I like councillor Bray.
And
happy to accept that.
Okay, thank you. And councillor Hood? That amendment is accepted. All right, so we have that as.
And seconded.
Yep.
Brian's happy.
Yes, Brian's happy. Okay. So that's that amendment is accepted. We have a motion before us. Now, would you like to speak to the motion? Second the motion, councillor Hood?
Yes, I will. To the amended motion, I will make some brief comments. I'll keep them brief because much has already been said. the allocation of 3 minutes couldn't possibly do justice to this fiasco. And thirdly, since we don't keep minutes of meetings, it feels rather pointless saying much. But having said that, I will make 12 observations. One, based on the 2014 community consultation, the building should never have been purchased in the first place. Two, the acquisition and its price tag of $6.3 million are both highly questionable. Three, the municipal inspectorate's delay in releasing its report is extremely unhelpful as it denies transparency and it fails on justice and accountability. Four, the lack of control and planning exercised by some previous councillors and previous management has rendered the expenditure of a further $3 million of ratepayers' funds. Five, the current group of councillors and management have done the responsible thing and halted the project and closely examined all options. Six, all of this is occurring in an organisation that has twice ran out of unrestricted cash in the past 18 months, has a precarious financial outlook, has no plan for the maintenance and renewal of community buildings worth $135 million, some of which are heritage listed, until recently had no workforce strategy, is struggling to recover from the financial and human impact of COVID and 2 devastating weather events, and has a backlog of planning applications that an Olympian couldn't pole vault over. There are many pressing issues that management and councillors must address. 7, the need for the intended purposes of the Hepburn Hub are not in question. Better staff accommodation is certainly needed. A bigger and better library and community spaces are needed. The resolution to assist in finding a home for the cinema must be carried out, and that includes recognition that a partially completed facility already exists within the building. 8, although the needs are clearly apparent, the dominating factor continues to be the eye-watering cost and risk associated with council retaining ownership of the building. 9, consultation on the intention to sell has been carried out in accordance with the Local Government Act, as poor as it is. However, it is highly regrettable that communication, which is a two-way street, over the past 7 months has been ineffective and in places misguided and uninformed. 10, I have listened. The 98% and 97% statistics arising from the recent survey send a clear and compelling message that should be heeded. 11, in the context of councillors being legally obliged to make responsible, evidence-based decisions in the best interests of the whole Shire, it would be reckless, unaffordable and risky for council to retain ownership of the building. 12, noting that the building's external facade and its interior enjoy heritage protection, I therefore support this recommendation, this motion.
Thank you, councillor. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Mayor. I would urge my fellow councillors to support this motion. Councillor Hood has very eloquently outlined 12 points around why he's choosing to support the motion. It's perhaps could be expected that myself, as one of the Birchwood councillors, would have been in favour of continuing to proceed with the Rex building. I do recognise, and I have thought long and hard about this, I do recognise the need and the importance of a community space for the Birchwood residents, the importance of the library. I do particularly acknowledge my duty as a councillor to provide a safe and modern workplace for our staff, which we certainly do not have. And I also acknowledge that my responsibility, my legal and my fiduciary responsibility, is not just to my ward, hard as that might be for some people to understand, but it's for the whole Shire. And Councillor Hood has outlined some of the constraints that we're under. Residents and councillors and officers will know from our last meeting, of the out-of-pocket expenses we have as a consequence of the floods in Creswick and the storm in Trentham. They're aware that in Creswick, 44 people still stay out of their homes. They're aware, we're aware of our responsibilities for core council services, such as waste, roads, our early childhood, childcare facilities, our kindergartens, all those facilities that we provide. And with an unrestricted cash of only 900,000, unfortunately, I have to indicate that I have to take into account all of these things, notwithstanding, not while recognising that there is a need for these community spaces and things, and we will continue to look at those.
Thank you, Councillor Hewitt. Tessa, Councillor Halliday.
Thank you, Mayor. As you will know from my previous motion, I was in favour. I'm not in favour of this motion. I was in favour of delaying things to give the community an opportunity to come to us with proposals for the building and funding of a community space. At a very minimum, I potentially would have supported an expression of interest process so that we could at least see what the developers had proposed for the building. As neither of those things are being proposed in this motion, I'm not supporting it.
Speak for or against the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Riley. I'll speak against the motion. I am reluctant to sell the Rex as I believe it's a valuable community asset, a beautiful heritage building in an unbelievably prime location in the centre of Daylesford. I know the community have a deep connection to this building and they want to see it restored and revived to provide a dynamic social, cultural and economic hub in the centre of our town. But while I'm reluctant to sell, I think at least we would sell. I strongly believe that council should, if they are going to sell the building, then they need to make sure they do everything in their power to deliver the best possible outcome, both for council's financial health and for the health and well-being of the community. I don't believe a direct sale will achieve this. I speak against the motion. To simply choose the Rex, to sell the Rex to the highest bidder without any consideration for the needs of the community is to put financial worth above the worth of people. Why would council not choose to have a final say on this? Why would we not want to weigh up the various proposals to find the balance between the best price and the best net community benefit, the best bang for our buck, to save time? We have no idea how long this building will take to sell. We cannot predict what the market will do. We don't have any say in that time frame. So why would we make a decision based on the assumption that this might be a quicker process? This motion will fundamentally take the decision out of council's hands and give the CEO a delegation to sell to the highest offer once the reserve price is met. And the CEO will not be able to factor in community facilities or other benefits into this decision making. They must primarily make this decision based on price. I'm saddened and disappointed that this council have largely ignored the results of the community engagement survey that showed 66% of the community want to keep this beautiful historic building as a community asset, as an arts and cultural hub. Even by selling the Rex a different method, this could have been a win-win story for council and community. The chance to recoup some financial costs, but at the same time show we have listened to the community and are prepared to work collaboratively together to reach a best outcome for the health and well-being community connection in this shire. This motion does not do that, and I will not be voting for this motion. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak for? Thank you. Thank you.
Would any other councillor like to speak for or against the motion? Thank you. On that basis, we'll go to the vote. Councillors. Oh, sorry, right of reply.
I'm happy with that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor, I put this motion to vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Hood, Councillor Hewitt. All those against, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Halliday, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Bray, and a call for a division. So all those in favour, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Hood, Councillor Hewitt in favour. All those against, that's Councillor Halliday, Councillor Dryly, and Councillor Bray. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item number 10. Suspend standing order.
Short sighted. This will destroy the shop.
Thank you. All right, we're moving on to item 10, which is planning application 333, which is 31 Houston Street, formerly 70 Camp Street. And I'd like to introduce.
No, I'm leaving.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Councillor Hewitt was leaving. Conflict of interest on this item, and introducing. Yeah. Now, just ask any committee members to leave if you are going to continue to talk. We just need to get through these next items. But thank you for attending. I'd like to introduce Ms. Pauline Maltzis to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a proposal for use and development of land at 31 Houston Street, Dalesford, for group accommodation and vegetation removal. The application was considered by council at the 17th of May meeting. It was determined to refuse the application. Had an appeal against failure not been lodged. Amended plans have been substituted as part of the VCAT appeal process. Council officers consider that those amended plans address all of the grounds of refusal previously raised and seek support for the amended plans subject to the conditions outlined in the report. It is this position which council would like to present to the appeal hearing in favour of the plans. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Maltzis. Are there any questions, councillors? We do have a question here from those who would like to speak to the planning application. I believe we have a virtual attendee. I'd like to invite John Hannigan from Harwood Andrews to speak on behalf of the applicant in support to the application. Thank you, Mr. Hannigan. Can you see and hear us? We can't hear you.
Still just connecting there.
Okay.
Chair.
Can you hear us, Mr. Hannigan? We can't hear you. Try again now.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you for joining us. You've got 3 minutes to address council. Thank you. Try again now.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? I can. Thank you for joining us. You've got 3 minutes to address council. Thank you.
Need to turn the live stream off.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's fixed it. Thank you.
You're right to go. You have 3 minutes when you can start now.
Thank you. So my name's John Hannigan. I'm a special counsel with Harwood Andrews Lawyers, and we act for Camp Street Dalesford Proprietary Limited, which is the permit applicant in PA 3333. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on its behalf. You might recall that the original permit application in August last year included 5 units with an ovoid appearance, the so-called sky barrels. As Ms. Maltz has said, our client applied to VCAT for a review of council's failure to make a decision within time. At that time, the council town planners recommended refusal based on various grounds, including excessive height and the appearance and design of the buildings being inconsistent with neighbourhood character. The local objectors raised similar concerns. Council's heritage advisor was also opposed to the development based on excessive height, and they suggested that the vehicle access should be relocated to the higher side of the road. The VCAT process that we initiated and we're in now encourages parties to talk and allows for plans to be amended to address issues raised in those discussions. And so the matter was listed for compulsory conference for the parties to discuss the issues in a confidential environment. Our client listened to the feedback from council and the community and amended its plans to address the issues raised. The changes included a reduction in total height by approximately 4 metres, a relocation of the vehicle access to the higher side of the lot as recommended by council's heritage advisor, and a more conservative building design, which is consistent with the neighbourhood character and more respectful of the heritage precinct. When we filed amended plans, we wrote to everyone who received initial notification, and they were each given another opportunity to comment and join the VCAT proceeding. Having reviewed the amended plans, council's heritage advisor now supports the proposal. We also have independent evidence from one of the state's leading heritage experts in support of the proposal. Council's experienced town planners have now recommended support, as you heard from Ms. Maltzis, subject to the permit conditions described in the agenda. Our client, council officers and the objectors with whom we've spoken believe the parties can reach an agreement which would settle the matter. However, if council doesn't support the amended plans, the matter will proceed to a hearing, and if a permit issues any conditions on that permit, will be a matter for the tribunal, not necessarily limited to those described in the agenda. Alternatively, if council decides to follow its officer's recommendation, the parties have an opportunity to finalise the matter, without putting the objectors or council to the unnecessary time and expense associated with the VCAT hearing.
30 seconds, Mr. Hannigan.
Council will also have certainty with respect to the permit conditions. In our client's submission, this is an application where the system has worked. Our client's amended its proposal in response to the feedback from council and the community, rather than pushed ahead to VCAT with a proposal that was unpopular. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hannigan. I'd now like to invite Dr. Leanne Howard to speak on behalf of the Darleston District Historical Society in objection to the application.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and councillors, colleagues and fellow community members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Dalesford and District Historical Society, who see their mission as conserving the histories, heritages, landscapes and cultures of the district. In brief, my own educational qualifications include a Masters of Cultural Heritage and a History PhD with expertise in community heritage and cultural landscapes, including masterclasses in World Heritage at UNESCO Paris. The Society's statement of grounds to VCAT detail our objections to the proposed Sky Barrels and then Shacks development. To reiterate, these largely focus around the detrimental effect and lack of respect for Cornish Hill heritage, visual effect on the wider Dalesford cultural landscape, the incompatibility with local neighbourhood character, and the dangerous precedent of supporting inappropriate development over conserving history, heritage and landscape. Tonight, I wish to make a few comments on the heritage of Cornish Hill and the Shire's heritage strategy and planning processes. As well as the tangible relics of a mining landscape and neighbourhood timber cottages associated with the earliest mining activities, Cornish Hill is important for its historic gold production and high local social significance. And social significance is really important here. Importantly, through its stories, Cornish Hill also documents our social history and culture. For example, Cornish Hill strongly influenced the early development of Daylesford by changing the focus of settlement from Wombat Flat up to the slopes of Wombat Hill. The scale of quartz mining undertaken with the superior mining methods of the Cornish miners provided major economic and social benefits for the growing township district. And I think sometimes this heritage gets lost in these wider debates. Cornish Hill is part of the wider global goldfields story. In protecting the World Heritage Site, UNESCO emphasises the concept of buffer zones around a site which protect heritage from negative influences. Sightlines from and to the heritage site also need consideration and protection. In the current sense, the views from and to Cornish Hill remain extremely important and should be protected. The views over Lake Daylesford or Wombat Flat and the township and the gullies below the viewpoints demonstrate the sequence of events leading up to the discovery of the quartz reefs and the shifting focus of settlement leading to major economic and social impacts on the town. While heritage has the ability to bring
10 seconds, Dr. Howard.
the ability to bring social and economic benefit, the relationship is not purely extractive. Safeguarding our heritage for past, present and future generations also brings its responsibilities. In the context of the Sky Barrels, then the Shacks proposals, there has been little avenue or opportunity for the local history and heritage expertise and voices to contribute to this issue of great concern to the local community. Through perceived failures of the heritage planning scheme and heritage overlay and the Hepburn Heritage Strategy, it is local community who care that have had to step up to this.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. I need to ask you to take your seat.
These perceived failures are not repeated in the future. The Hepburn Planning Scheme and heritage overlays should be robust enough and resourced to guide the process. The current heritage strategy needs to be more than just rhetoric. Thank you.
Now invite Mr. Mark Rack to speak in objection to the application.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillors. I'm Mark Rack and I'm objector to in relation to the proposed development 31 Houston Street, formerly 70 Camp Street. Although officers have recommended this revised planning application be approved, I ask Council to reject the recommendation and indicate to VCAT that Council would have rejected the application if it was still under the Council's jurisdiction. Like most of the 21 written objectors, my reason for opposing this application relates to the impact on Cornish Hill Precinct and Daylesford as a whole, not a direct impact on my own property. The planning application, as people are aware, is a revision of the original Sky Barrel proposal. Sky Barrel proposal was universally condemned, and as Council is aware, its failure to act on the application as prescribed by legislation is effectively relegated to a secondary role in this process. Despite this, the in-principle decision of Council remains relevant to VCAT's evaluation process. I remain mystified that this revised plan, which is so different to the original application, has not triggered a need for a new application. The changes to siting, the built form, relocation of parking, etc., are very significant, and it does mystify me. The residents of Daylesford have also been confused and misled by the location of where the development is, and that's been highlighted by the change in the address and how things have been notified in relation to that. It is my understanding that despite the VCAT's direction that all originally notified residences be advised of the new plans. That has not occurred. The general commentary about the revised application seems to be that it's better than the Sky Barrels. Although that's correct, it needs to be assessed on its own merits, and it's not accepted better. Having something better than an amber claim is what we should accept. The use of the term shacks in the revised plan tries to invoke a romantic similarity to the historic and valued mining cottages in the precinct. However, this is misleading. How many mining cottages are built on 4 metre stilts and look like shipping containers?
Seconds, Mr.
I support Leanne's descriptions about the heritage components that are attached to this location. And I'd like to ask council why the revised heritage report that supports the amendment hasn't been released to the public. I think that's really a poor performance by the council as a whole. In closing, I'd ask councillors to judge the revised application on its merits and not approve it purely because it's better than the original proposal. To this end, it clearly fails to meet the requirements of heritage and local code.
Councillors, I have a recommendation before us, and that is that council supports the amended plans and proposed conditions as detailed in the meeting agenda. I'm in search for a motion. Do I have a mover? Someone? Councillor Bray?
Yep.
You're moving the officer's recommendation?
The council supports the amended plans and proposed conditions as detailed in the meeting agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Halliday. Thank you. Councillor Bray, would you like to speak to the motion?
Only to say that we've been fully briefed on this application by our planning officers, and they have advised us that the changes made to this application have greatly reduced the impact on the visual sightlines, and I've had a look around myself at the lake, walked across the lake and had a look at some photographs that look at the potential impact of the visuals on the skyline, and that it is a much better application than the original, and that it has taken into consideration a lot of the concerns from the original application, including the car parking and the landscape.
Thank you, Councillor Bray. Councillor Halliday, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Thank you, Councillor Henderson.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, it's with great reluctance that I oppose this, and perhaps I should have perhaps an alternate motion, but this heard the applicant, and I really do appreciate the fact that the applicant has recognised that the Sky Barrels are fitting. However, I must make the point that originally the architect and the proponent must have thought they were, or in fact must have thought that they would be acceptable. Over many years now, perhaps 10 or even more years, I've been working with people from the Central Goldfields Shire, Ballarat Shire, and now 12 other municipalities across Victoria to try and get World Heritage listing for the goldfields. And that's not just individuals, that's our goldfields. Probably on the goldfields, there's been no more important input in these areas than the Swiss Italians out here, and we've had all sorts of miners, but the Cornish miners had a very, very important part to play. They were the ones with the mining expertise in deep lead mining. They worked in deep lead mining, and they brought a great deal of expertise and uniqueness to this Victorian goldfield. Putting aside whether whether some shacks, as we describe them, on sticks are acceptable. I don't actually think that they're acceptable in any landscape as part of this shire and the general neighbourhood character of this shire. I think that we do have to have development, of course, but do we have to have everything up on poles? And I don't think we do, whether they be sky barrels, whether they, as eloquently described, look like containers, or whether someone else has said they look like chook sheds on sticks. I don't know, but all I know is that when I look at that area and I look at years that it's survived without the need for development, and it's survived because of its natural beauty, because of its contribution to the heritage, and I, for the life of me, can't support this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? In that case, I'd like to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. So councillor Halliday, councillor Dryly, councillor Bray. All those against? Councillor Henderson and councillor Simpson, and you're abstaining. So that's a tied vote, I believe. So for the division.
Oh, you're going to declare it first. Sorry.
Right.
Declared it. If you want to declare it, I'll call a division.
Yeah, so it's a tied vote, and that's motions. I need to cast a vote, I think.
1 second.
Yeah. Casting vote. Yeah. I believe I have the casting vote in this instance. So I would, I'd like to support the motion, so that would be carried.
Call the division, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Call the division. We'll re-vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that's councillor Halliday and councillor Bray. All those against?
You must have been for it too.
Beg pardon?
You must have been for it too.
Re-vote.
Well,
I'm putting a casting.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, you must have had a vote in the first place.
Yep.
And then you have a casting vote. So.
Oh, okay. Well, please note that I was for the motion. All those against? We have councillor Henderson and councillor Simpson, and for a casting vote, I would vote.
Point of order. Is councillor Hood an abstention?
Yes.
Well, then you don't need to have a casting vote.
Technically, it's a vote against the motion.
It's 3-3.
So it's 3-3. So therefore, I would cast a vote for the motion. So that would be to carry the motion.
Okay.
Motion
The
carried.
motion is carried.
All right. So now I'll call a division. Got it right. Yeah.
Okay.
Call the division.
Was the
sorry.
that was
Don't vote on the division. You don't declare a division carried.
no. Decision was called for. I've asked everyone to vote again.
Yep.
Yeah, I've done that.
All right.
That will be what was recorded as the division, and we move forward.
Yeah.
The motion is passed.
All right. Thank you. Moving on.
Just need to bring councillor Hewitt back into the room, and be appropriate we let councillor Hewitt know the outcome of that item.
Sure.
Councillor Hewitt,
Yep.
return to the room. Those at home. Appreciate it.
Thanks, councillor Hewitt. Just to let you know that the motion was carried for that item. The officer's recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
We're moving now on to item number 10.2, which is amendment to planning application 1249, which is dwelling and design building envelope for 106 Torby's Lane, Glen Line. I'd like to introduce Ms. Pauline Maltzis to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. This application proposes an amendment to an existing permit issued for use and development of a dwelling. The amendment includes redesign and relocation of the dwelling on the site, and therefore the considerations in the determinant of this application are limited to those changes. Recommended that had an appeal not been lodged against the failure to determine in this case, that the application for the amendment be supported by council. Thank you.
Councillors, do we have any questions? Yes, councillor Simpson.
I think the address is 107, not 106.
We just double check that. I've got 106.
106. Yeah, when I went to visit the site last night, I was told it was 107.
It won't matter for the purposes of the planning permit. We'll be able to fix that up as an administrative change if that's indeed correct, but
okay,
won't matter for the purposes of tonight's debate.
Any other questions? Councillor Bray?
Just a couple of quick questions. I just note that there's the original permit had expired. And my question is, can council extend an expired permit? And perhaps explain what's happened here, and can an expired permit be? That's just a point of clarification.
Okay. Thank you for the question. The permit has been extended and it is valid. A permit can be extended up until 6 months after the permit expiry. So there is some leeway after the actual expiry. So in this case, all extensions are valid and the current permit is valid and has been extended as permitted under the Act, Planning and Environment.
The second question, it's just around the bushfire management overlay. My understanding is that in this area, there's a bushfire management overlay, but it means the owner does not necessarily need a permit to clear any native vegetation within a certain area of the house site, as it has been assessed by their bushfire management plan. It looks like the house site is going to be situated in the centre of an area that is old remnant vegetation, and whereas the rest of the block is mainly clear. And I wonder if there's any options for council to protect that native vegetation in any way through any amendments or changes we might make at this point. You answer.
Thank you. But yes, there is opportunity should you decide to require amendments to the resolution or to the proposal that would allow for that to be retained, as there is space on the site that doesn't have vegetation on there. So yes, there is an option to do that.
Thank you. Is there another, Councillor Henderson?
So through you to planners. I did read that this is 7 years now, this permit, and with the extension, normally we give permits for 4 years. If you don't start the thing within 2 years, permit lapses. So if you start within 2 years, you've got 4 years to complete under your planning permit. This obviously hadn't started under the 2 years. So within the 2 years, and so there's been a number of extensions for this, and how long now would the people have to start this change to the permit?
Thank you for the question, councillor. I believe in the report, the extension is for a further 2 years from the recent, so do you have the dates? Most recent extension, which would be July 2024, I believe, commence. It would be July 2024 to commence, they have, and July 2026 to complete.
Right. So all up that.
Permit was issued on, would be? No, I'm looking for the original permit. Just bear with me. So the original permit was issued on the 5th of July. So the most recent extension granted allows for commencement till the 5th of July, 2024 and completion by 5th of July, 2026.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, we'll hear now from those who have asked to speak to the planning application online. I'd like to invite Felicity Brown from Town Planning and Urban Design to speak on behalf of the applicant in support of the application. Thank you, Ms. Brown. You can hear and see us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes to address council. You can start now.
Thank you and good evening, councillors and council staff. My name's Felicity Brown and I'm a town planning consultant here representing the permit applicants. This amendment is a simple application to amend the plans of an existing permit. There's no change to propose to the primary consent already granted, which is to use and develop the land for a dwelling. What is proposed is a modest change to reposition the building envelope and an amended house design. The owners have reluctantly taken this application to VCAT. They've suffered delays due to the pandemic, and when we lodged this application amendment in October last year, since about January this year, there's been no progress on the application. Clearly, the Hepburn Planning Department have been under significant pressure and resourcing has been a challenge, and so the VCAT process has commenced. The proposal before you is a carefully crafted house design by award-winning and highly acclaimed architects JCB. The house is a two-pod design to cater for the owner's extended family of adult children and grandchildren. The owners, James and Kate, are keen to build as soon as they can, and they simply want to enjoy a calm rural lifestyle with their family. The building envelope is sited at the north end of the site to maintain the balance of the land for agriculture and in an area that was previously forested with pine trees. The house site was selected to avoid removal of any significant native trees. Some small saplings, acacia species and pine regrowth will need to be removed, but that's the extent of vegetation removal. Regardless, there are relevant exemptions in the planning scheme for vegetation removal, for bushfire protection and to construct a dwelling in a farming zone. The design involves a rectangular house form, a reduction in building height and a repositioned building envelope that's set on a lower contour line than the previously endorsed plans. It will be nestled into the landscape and less visible from neighbouring properties and is of a higher quality design response. All relevant authorities, that is GMW, CFA, the North Central CMA and Council's Engineering Department have no objection to the application and there are no outstanding issues. The owners have already commenced restorative landscaping works across the site and are working with a well-regarded ecologist, Carl Just, who is advising them. And they are also working with a viticulturist to plant grapevines on the sloped areas set back from the creek. These activities are as of right and not under consideration this evening. I would urge councillors to not only listen to the noise on this application, but also to the quietness. Council notified 8 surrounding properties. Not all of these properties have objected. Some wholly support the proposal, including the closest neighbour to the north. This application has been the subject of an orchestrated campaign of objections, with the majority of objectors located significant distance from the property, Dalesford, Yandoit, Macedon Ranges Shire. It is questionable how the amended house design impacts on their amenity. You have a comprehensive delegated officer's report before you that recommends approval, and this should be supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Brown. I'd like to now invite Ms Alison Joseph to speak in objection to the application. Thanks. Sorry. Hello, Ms.
Hello,
Joseph.
hi.
Can you hear us and see us?
I can hear you. Hopefully you can see me as well. Thank you.
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you. You have 3 minutes and you can start now. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I'll just turn the other one off.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, and I think the councillors have raised some of the same issues that I'm going to raise now. I'm speaking for a number of objectors, including, thank you very much for including for Galena Debney, who lives opposite at 105 to 109 Torpies Lane. I think the major issue is around the actual siting of this building. About 90% of the property is cleared of trees. It formerly had a pine forest on it, virtually no vegetation in that area. And the proposed building envelope is within an area of remnant vegetation. And the removal of vegetation for the defendable space will have an adverse impact on the biodiversity in the area. The property opposite has recently been awarded a Trust for Nature covenant. That's a legislated covenant recognising the endangered species on this property, including brush-tailed phascogales, powerful owls, and sugar gliders, greater sugar gliders. Those species have also been identified on 106 Torpies Lane, and the clearing of defendable space, not only the removal of trees if that's necessary, but the removal of all vegetation for a very large area around the site will have adverse impact. And it's totally unnecessary because the rest of the site doesn't have any trees or any vegetation. So it's quite easy to site it somewhere else and not have those impacts. There's very old eucalypts on the property too, and in close proximity where the house site is going to be. The other issue is the wastewater treatment area that's been put forward. The applicants a number of years ago, and possibly 2 years ago, actually put a bore down in the southwest corner of this property, and I went and measured it today, and it appears to be within the wastewater area proposed by these, or very, very close to it, within metres of it. And that is contrary to the condition put on the permit by Goulburn Murray Water. So I don't think council's actually in a position to actually approve it because there's a bore in close proximity or in the wastewater treatment area. And that's, as I said, that's contrary to the permit. The other issue with the site is the bushfire risk. There is no exemption under that bushfire management overlay, or there's no opportunity to stop the clearing of defendable space. That's a given once you approve the building. And this is a very high risk area. It's a site in a farming zone where there should be a 20 hectare minimum. So you're in a much smaller site.
20 seconds, thanks.
All right, lovely. And the other one is the process. My understanding is this permit actually expired in 2020, 2021. They put in a new application, I believe, because the permit had expired. And they withdrew that application after objections had been received. It had gone through all the process, and I don't think they would have done that if they thought there was a prospect of it being approved. So I think this putting in a new application subsequently is for an improper proper purpose. And further, the last extension to the permit has actually approved the amended plans, and your
Thank
council
you.
officer.
That's your 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Councillors, you have a recommendation before us. Oh, sorry, questions? Yeah, sure.
Question to about the bore.
Sure.
Have we checked out that this bore is within the proximity of the effluent fluid?
Through you, Chair, I'm aware of that concern. We don't have factual information at this point to verify that what he said is in fact true. So if that was to be the case, we would need to have facts around that. So at this point, we don't have that, and the compliance with the conditions will stand, which is the distance in there. So it will be something that, if there are facts, as the object indicates they measured it out, that should be provided to council and investigate as a separate matter.
So just a further question on that then, since it has now been provided, or not necessarily provided, but there's been a doubt raised about it, what's the process of us investigating the veracity of that before we make a decision? Well, we're not making a decision, it's got to go to BCAT, but it would seem a very serious matter, one that would warrant, for the sake of public health, would warrant an investigation. So we now have knowledge that it perhaps, I'm not saying it is, but can we verify that? And at the time we go to BCAT, is it possible for us to raise that as an issue?
Thank you, councillor. Yes, it can be further investigated. However, I would say in this case, if it was found to be non-compliance and council did determine to approve the application and the bore was in a location, if there is in fact a bore, it could be removed to ensure compliance stands with the permit conditions. So I think that would be something that can be undertaken by the owner.
And the further question is, we've heard about powerful owls, and we've heard about bassagos, we've heard about all those bits of wildlife. Now, they might be in a remnant population, but we're going to put up a vineyard. What vineyard says to me is scare guns. So when we talk about quiet, that's not that, scare guns aren't that quiet. So perhaps everyone thinks of vineyards, we go past and we see them nice and in a row with the nice grapes hanging on them and the nets, but what about the scare guns? Are they going to destroy the wildlife? We drive them out of the trees too, but I don't know. So we considered all that.
Thank you, councillor. This application doesn't consider that as part of the determination. The only matters that we can consider today is the amended dwelling design location. So the vineyard is not a matter to be.
That's a matter.
But I take on point the concerns.
Thank you, councillor.
I've got a question for the planners. Could it be referred to the change in the movement of the building as modest? Do you agree that the change from the cleared area on the property where the original house was to be up the hill and on into the remnant vegetation, would you agree with Felicity's assessment that that is a modest change?
In relation to Felicity's comment, she may have been referring to the actual design of the dwelling itself. When you're looking at this dwelling as opposed to the
as compared to the original dwelling approved. The floor area is similar, although a different shape. It's much lower in scale and height as well. So that would be my reference to a modest change that Felicity would be referring to, being a separate matter to affecting vegetation.
Thank you, councillor Halliday. Oh, sorry, follow up.
I think that the original house was meant to be a 3-bedroom house. That this new dwelling, which B&B, but we're in 2 parts, 2 independent buildings which are connected by a roof. So I think seems to me to be quite a significant change.
Thank you, councillor. In terms of the accommodation, it is still a similar accommodation, although that's 2 separate wings connected. They are codependent, so it is still 1 dwelling because the second part has bedrooms and a bathroom, and there is only 1 kitchen as part of the entire building. So I understand it may appear unusual, but it is definitely still 1 dwelling, and, you know, it's for the purpose of this family, and that's how they would like to separate the children from the adults.
Okay, councillor Halliday, you have a question?
Yes, I was interested to find out what the process is if there is a bore, because there is actually no bore registered on the groundwater map the Victorian government has. Like, there is one at 109, but there is no registered bore. So would that mean council need to go out there and assess whether there is an illegal bore on site?
Thank you, councillor. We'll take that on notice and undertake further investigations. It may be a test bore. So again, as mentioned previously, we'll need some further information and evidence that a bore in fact exists. And if it does, then we can take it further from there, but we need to establish the facts first.
Thank you.
Councillor Simpson?
I cited the bore last night when I went to the property, and I think one of the speakers said that they've done a reading on the bore as well. There is a bore, and also visually I was told that it is in close proximity to the wastewater system.
Okay.
But the sewer.
Take that as a comment, and thank you. Councillor Hood?
Yeah, thanks. Mine is an administrative question. I'm mindful that we're making a determination on this that's then conveyed to VCAT. My question is about the timing of when we need to take a position when it goes to VCAT, because I'm hearing for the first time this concern about the bore and whether or not it's located within the wastewater treatment area. That sounds to me like a fairly important issue that needs to be clarified. I'm uncomfortable not having clarity on that point. Seems like a point that could be pretty readily verified either way. So my question is, when is our position to be conveyed to VCAT?
Thank you, councillor Wood. There's a coffee conference scheduled for the 20th of September, and council is required to provide advice on its position within 5 days before the hearing, and also provide draft conditions. If it can be provided sooner, that would be ideal. However, so there is some time until the first hearing.
Thanks.
Okay, if there are no more questions, we do have a recommendation before us. That's a council's recommendation as per the agenda. I'm searching for a motion. Do I have a mover?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that we defer making a decision on this on the officer's recommendation until such time as the matter relating to the bore is clarified.
Okay,
I otherwise would have supported the officer's recommendation tonight, but that's a new issue, I think, that needs to be clarified.
okay, so the motion is to defer this, decision. Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, councillor Simpson. Would you like to speak to the motion, councillor Hood?
I don't think I need to anymore, Mr. Mayor. As I say, look, I would have been supportive of this, but the location of a bore within a wastewater treatment area seems pretty problematic to me, and it seems like it's an issue that should be clarified, and I would hope that it could readily be clarified.
Councillor Simpson, would you like to speak?
No, I just endorse what councillor Wood said.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Broke?
Thank you, Mayor Drowley. I will speak in support of deferring this motion. It would be good to get some more clarification on that information if it is in fact part of council's decision making on this application. I would have supported the application, but with the addition of an amendment that would look at requiring another condition on this, but that wouldn't be relevant now, but it would have been to create to ask for the exact location of all the existing native vegetation site, including the height and species and trunk circumference, and also to ensure that the dwelling is relocated to ensure the retention of all the existing native vegetation on the site with sufficient distance maintained from all native vegetation. And so it would have been along those lines that I would have requested an amendment, but that is no longer necessary if we vote on this motion. I will just foreshadow that if this motion doesn't get up, that I would put that amendment.
Thank you, councillor Bray. Councillor Halliday?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm also supportive of delaying this. I think it is important to find out what the situation is relating to the bore, and I think it also gives us an opportunity to do further work to make sure that we avoid any native vegetation removal if possible. So I do support Councillor Hood's motion.
Thank you. If there's no one else speaking for or against the motion, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that's carried. Move to item 11.1, which is the Biodiversity Grants Program 2022. I'd like to introduce Councillor Hewitt to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mayor. Community biodiversity 2021-2020 does align with our 2020-2025 to achieve a sustainable and protected environment. Eligible community groups and access to and this year we had 6 applications received. Because there were 6 applicants, in order to ensure that each applicant who were eligible received a share of the limited funding, all applications were recommended for partial funding at 85% of what they applied for. All applications were from organisations based in Creswick and Birch Ward, although 3 of the projects have potential for Shire-wide impact. Councillors, you may be aware from the agenda that one proponent, the Wattle Flat Patilla Landcare, is largely based outside the Shire, but it does have active landholders within Hepburn Shire, and the project is of benefit to Hepburn Shire council residents. That group, although they're located outside the Shire, contribute to environmental improvement in and adjacent to the Shire boundary. And so their benefits include a reduction in weed seeds, etc., contribute to the health of Hepburn Shire's biodiversity. The officers have recommended that we award Community Biodiversity Grant funding totalling $24,000, and there's a table in your agenda that covers, and in the officer's recommendation, that covers applications from the Darsford Neighbourhood Centre, the Hepburn Gardens for Wildlife, the Hepburn Wildlife Shelter, the Blampede Land Care Group, Darsford Primary School, and the Wattle Flat Patilla Landcare Group, various amounts of funding totaling $24,000.
Thanks, councillor Hewitt. Do we have any questions, councillors? Councillors, we have a recommendation before us, and that is that council approves the following community biodiversity grant applications as listed in the table in the agenda. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover? Councillor Henderson, removing the recommendation. Thank you. Seconder, councillor Hewitt, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mayor. I've often said this about community grants. These are a little bit bigger than usual, and I usually talk about small amounts, but the amounts of money given will go a long way, because these are volunteer organisations and they spend the money very wisely, and they contribute to doing things that we as council just aren't able to get around to doing from time to time. A lot of the work, some of the times the work, a lot of it is carried out on private property. However, birds and wind carry seed, and so clean private property to me indicates clean public land, so it's less work we have to do. They do a lot of work on roadsides and so on, and the fact that some of them work over the border, seed travels over the border. It doesn't say this is the city of Ballarat or this is a city of this is the Marrabul Shire. Gorse doesn't care and blackberries don't care where they land and where they grow. So I think all of those groups will spend the money very wisely and make it go a long way. So I commend it. Thank you. And I commend them for putting in their application too.
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Councillor Hewitt.
Yes, Mayor. Councillors, you'll be aware of the report that came out this week that indicates that Australia is losing species are becoming extinct at a rate far greater than anywhere else in the world. So I think it's really important, and that that extinction and that lack of biodiversity is in fact as much an environmental issue as climate change, but we hear less about it. So I would certainly be in favour of this, and Councillor Bray and I have had the opportunity to attend one of the programs that's getting funding, the Hepburn Gardens Wildlife, and I think all the programs that we're funding are important, but this one has great value because it's helping gardeners in residential areas consider what they need to support biodiversity. And I'm also pleased to see the Daylesford Primary School getting funding. That means that our younger generation are actually being taught and made aware and supported in their approach to address what is a very significant issue, not just for the Shire, but for Australia.
Thank you, councillor Hewitt. Would anyone else like to speak for or against the motion? In that case, I'd like to put the motion to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour, please raise your hand, and that is carried. Moving on to item 13.1, which is the National General Assembly Partners in Progress Conference 2022. I'd just like to briefly introduce this report. I attended this conference with CEO Bradley Thomas, and there are 1,000 delegates from over 500 councils across Australia attending. There are lots of seminars that we attended and addressing sort of a theme of future focused and gaining insight into what councils can do to get ready for the challenges, opportunities and changes that lie ahead. The purpose of this report is for council to note the attendance of the Mayor and the CEO at the 2022 Rural and Regional Summit and the National General Assembly of Australian Local Government Association in Canberra from Saturday the 18th of June to Wednesday the 22nd of June 2022. Councillors, are there any questions? The officer's recommendation is that council receive and note the mayoral conference report in relation to the 2022 National General Assembly. Search of a motion. Thanks, councillor Bray. Seconder?
The officers.
Thank you. And are there any questions? Anyone like to speak to the motion or against?
I'd just like to say I'm really pleased that we were able to support the CEO and the mayor to attend this national conference. It was an incredibly well attended. I think it's one of the largest gatherings of local government representatives in Australia. And it was certainly a great opportunity for our mayor and CEO to go and network, to listen to where the future directions are taking us, and to make valuable connections and bring back that learning to our shire. So I'm really pleased we were able to support that.
Thank you, councillor Bray. Councillor Hood. I'd like to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that is carried. We have a point, item 13.2, which is Bradley Thomas will exit the room with conflict of interest. We're doing the appointment of an independent member to the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee. So the Local Government Act 2020 requires that council establish a Chief Executive Officer Employment and Remuneration Committee, and that an independent advisor is appointed as one of the committee members. This report details the recruitment process followed to select an independent advisor and recommends council endorse the appointment of the preferred candidate. The preferred candidate in this instance is John Watson, and he has a considerable experience in board and committee experience. He's experienced in conduct inquiries, experience at state government senior executive and local government chief executive officer, with an outstanding record in management, governance and public administration. He is currently the chair of the Victorian Local Government Grants Commission. He's also board director for Northern Health, Northern Hospital. He's the chair of Northern Health Audit and Risk Committee and a board director for the Metropolitan Waste and Resource Recovery Group. He's the independent chair of the Boorandarra City Council Audit and Risk, and a number of other roles in similar capacities. So he's a very experienced independent and a great candidate for this position. Councillors, are there any questions? We have a recommendation before us, councillors, that the council approves the appointment of the independent advisor as detailed in the confidential attachment to this report, and makes the appointment of public once approved by council. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bray.
So moved.
Second, councillor Henderson. Would you like to speak to the motion, councillor Bray?
No.
Councillors, I'd like to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. And that is carried. And press Mr. Thomas to rejoin us. I think we'll need an extension at the time. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. That motion was carried, and I declare a conflict of interest in this next item, which is general business item 15.1. My hand up.
Thank you. We're looking at 15.1 in general business, and that is in relation to Mayor Drylee taking leave of absence. I have a recommendation before council, and that is that council grant Councillor Tim Dryley a leave of absence from the 30th of July 2022 to the 7th of August 2022 inclusive, noting that Councillor Dryley will be an apology for briefings, council meetings during his leave. Are there any questions regarding the item? I'm in search of a motion. Councillor Hewitt, are you moving the
officer's recommendation?
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Henderson. Is there any further, anyone want to speak for or against the motion?
No.
I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. We can bring the mayor back into the room. Thank you, Mayor Dryley. I can let you know that that motion is carried.
Thank you, Councillor Gray. I believe that as there's no other items on the agenda, I can declare the meeting closed and at 8:17 p.m. Thanks, everybody.